Mayor Tome here to call this meeting of the Columbus Common Council, regular meeting for Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. This is our final meeting of the year. Again, we're utilizing Zoom video conference. This evening, myself, Pat Gable, the clerk, City Administrator Ellefson, and Amy Jo Meyer, the rec director, are here in person. Everyone else is participating remotely via Zoom. With that, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Adams?
Present.
Gray is excused. McCabe?
Here.
Pifferone?
Here.
Reed?
Here.
Ryan?
Here.
And Tome.
I'm here. Thank you, Pat. If you're able, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. The next item is to approve the agenda. Before we approve the agenda, I did want to see if there was any consensus from the council on item number 6, which is consider and take action on the city's notice of intent to terminate its contract with Active Network. I did see the agenda item, but I did not see the packet or the memo until yesterday, and I have some concerns. We have two choices now when we've discussed this in closed session. I want to make sure that if we do discuss this evening, we don't start talking about strategy that may have been confidential conversation in an open meeting. So unless we know we have unanimous consent for one decision or the other, and we can do that relatively quickly, it might be a good idea to table that till the first meeting in January, which would still give us time to notify. Are there any concerns from council members about tabling this until the first meeting in January? Trina?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to remember any time constraints. Would that make a difference?
I believe that the date is mid-January,
Okay.
somewhere in there. So we do have time. Okay. Any other concerns from?
Table it then.
Okay. Any other concerns from council? All right. With that then, if someone would like to make a motion to approve the agenda with tabling item number 6 to the next regular meeting.
Alder Adams.
Go ahead.
Alder Adams would like to approve the agenda with the provision of tabling new business item number 6 until the next meeting. Piper will second that.
We have a motion from Adams and a second from Pifferone to approve the agenda with tabling item number 6 to the first meeting in January. Is there any discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Thank you. Correspondence and communications. I don't believe we had anyone signed up. I see no one present. Pat, was there anyone signed up via Zoom in advance?
No.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the Council and Committee of the Whole minutes for November 24th, along with the public hearing, and then the December 1st regular and Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. And I did not see any applications for operators licenses in the packet. Is that correct, Pat? Oh, maybe I missed that, sorry. I didn't. Oh, I didn't get that, thank you. We do have one application. We have one application for new operator's license for the period of July 1, 20 to June 30th, 2022. Alexandria Konashenko is the applicant. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? If there are no questions on the consent agenda, I'll take a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion from Ryan, a second from Reed to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Consent agenda has been approved. We'll move on to new business item number 1. Consider and take action on the street closing request for the VFW American Legion for January 2nd, 2021. I spoke with Administrator Ellefson about this and just thought we'd put it as a standalone item just because it is kind of a public event during COVID, and I know we've had a lot of discussions about that recently. There is a lot of detail about the event in our memo. I didn't see any concerns, but I thought we'd just have it as a standalone conversation in case there are any concerns from council members. Does anyone on the council have any concern about the street closure request for this? Right, if there are no concerns, I guess we could take a motion to approve the street closing request for the VFW American Legion for January 2nd, 2021.
Alderman Adams will move to approve the street closing request from the VFW American Legion for January 2nd, 2021.
Okay, seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the street closing request as submitted by the VFW American Legion for January 2nd, 2021. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for joining us this evening, Chris. In case we had any questions, I guess you get to punch out early this evening. Thanks. All right, well, thank you, Chris. Move on to item number 2, new business. Consider and take action on the Columbia County Health and Human Services 2021 MOU for the nutrition site. This is annual housekeeping for the meal program through the county. I don't believe there was any questions at the last committee of the whole that I heard of. I believe the contract is the same as in prior years. Are there any questions on the MOU with Columbia County Health and Human Services for the nutrition site? I see no questions from the council. If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the MOU with Columbia County Health and Human Services.
Okay, we'll make a motion to approve the Columbia County Health and Human Services 2021 MOU for nutrition site.
Alder Piper will second that.
We have a motion from McCabe, second from Piferone to approve the MOU with Columbia County Health and Human Services for 2021 for the nutrition site. Is there any discussion on the motion? There's no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to new business item number 3, which is consider and take action on the organizational chart. I know there was some discussion at the last committee of the whole, which I was not at, about some ideas for laying out the org chart. There's quite a few pages in the packet kind of separating the different portions of government and then also kind of a master, but I think I'll turn it over to Kyle Ellefson to kind of just explain the approach that's been taken here.
Thank you. And Pamela Frederick is also with us and can answer any questions about moving things around and how it kind of came together. But essentially what you have is the main chart, which shows mostly the elected leadership, the administration, and then the department structure and very few individual employees. And then when it comes to committees and commissions, only those committees or commissions that had sort of direct oversight over employees were included on the first page. And then as you transition into the second page, you'll see more of that breakdown of all the different committees and commissions that the city uses to set policy and provide oversight. Additionally, you'll see that there are different staff names associated with each committee or commission, so that each of these committees or commissions is staffed with some city staff. And that will help so that city staff understand who they're, kind of assigned to, and then also that those boards know who they're supposed to be working with in case there's any question on that. And then as you go further, what you would see is essentially every department that is shown on the first page of the org chart then has a subsequent page that's much more detailed about the actual positions assigned to it, and have individual employee names and things like that, so that as you break it down to the further levels, you can always clearly see what the relationships are. And so we start very broad on page 1, and then kind of work into much more detail as we move forward. But I think we incorporated the changes that had been discussed, and especially with the committees and commissions. So it's still open if there's more changes desired, or if this is a good jumping off point. And obviously, it's a work in progress, so as the city changes, this always remains open to change as well.
Great. Yeah, I think this is a great starting point. I know that, part of the request as described in the memo is that we wanted to have a updated org chart, and that we would do that annually along with the budget process. So I appreciate you getting that done. Are there any questions from the council on this? We do have Pamela Frederick available via Zoom for any questions.
I just wanted to make more of a comment that I really appreciate Kyle putting together Kyle and Pamela putting together this new flow chart, much more detailed, and I think it's much easier to understand. So I think it looks good. I don't have any concerns.
All right. Any other questions or concerns from council? Mr. McCabe?
No, I'm sorry, I was just agreeing with Katie. I think it looks really good. Thank you for spending the time on this.
Okay. Great. Unless there's any further questions, then we'll take a motion to approve the organizational chart for the city of Columbus.
Alder Parker will make a motion to approve the organizational chart for the city of Columbus.
Adams seconds.
We have a motion from Piper on, a second from Adams to approve the organizational chart for the city of Columbus. Is there any discussion on the motion? There's no discussion on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks again for your work, Kyle and Pamela. All right, new business item number 4, consider and take action on the budget expense line policy. I did get my copy when I got in here this evening. I had a problem with my printer, so I know that there was discussion at the last committee of the whole about what the council would like to see from the draft that was presented, and I think that there was a little update on here, so I'll let Kyle kind of address that update as well.
Yes, based on discussion at the last committee of the whole, there was some desire to, I think, number one, allow the flexibility to staff to kind of manage within the budget, but also to retain some level of oversight. So the language that I'm providing as an example of what we could adopt would include basically that flexibility to exceed individual expense lines, as long as these 3 things would be true. Number 1 would be that the account group that expense line falls within would not exceed the annual budgeted amount for that group, including considering the remainder of the year. If you have salary expenses, you can't come in June and exceed a line knowing that in the future you'll go over. Number 2, that the dollar amount of that exceedance for that individual line wouldn't exceed the administrator's approval level for a straight purchase. So if it was $15,000, that would not be something that I would be able to approve. That would have to come back to council if something of that dollar level or an exceedance of that amount was present. And then number two, that the exceedance is no greater than 200% above the annual budgeted amount. And that was intended to allow some flexibility in those smaller dollar amount items. For example, if you had a budget for postage of $100 in most years during 2020, you could have multiplied that by 2-3 times pretty easily if you suddenly stopped allowing people to come in and had to mail everything. So if all three of those things are present, then that would allow staff the flexibility to exceed an expense line. And if any one of them is absent, that would require a visit to the City Council and Committee of the Whole to explain what the exceedance is for and how we kind of ended up in that situation. So that was kind of the balance that I presented, hoping that it kind of satisfied both goals.
Sure. Questions from the council on that update on the policy? All right, if there's no further questions or concerns about the update to the budget expense line policy, anybody would like to make a motion to approve the budget expense line policy, be great.
I do have just one question.
Okay.
Kyle, so when the expense lines are changed like that, in a scenario like that, you actually have to approve that initially, correct?
Correct. That would be, they would still need to come to the city administrator, and then that would be basically the level of approval is the city administrator versus making it an agenda item on the city council. So there is still a check administratively on that, so departments would need to coordinate if they do have one of those exceedances.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion from council.
I move to approve the budget expense line policy as notated by Kyle.
Second.
A motion from Ryan and a second from Adams to approve the updates to the budget expense line policy for the city of Columbus. Is there any discussion on the motion? There's no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to new business item number 5. Consider and take action on the recommendation to award the building inspection contract to Safe Built. From my understanding, the contract was reviewed by Paul Johnson. There were maybe just a few minor issues that were brought up, and Safe Built had no concerns with changing that language, from my understanding. So I think we're ready for approval of the contract. Are there any questions concerning this? Attorney Johnson's here on Zoom. All right, if there are no questions, the recommendation is to award the building inspection contract to Safe Built, and that would be for, how many years is that term? It's more than 1 year, I believe, isn't it?
I believe the initial term is 1 year.
That's correct.
Okay,
And then it automatically renews.
okay.
I seem to recall it being 5, but
No, it's section 5 of the agreement.
Okay. It renews every year. Adams, did you have a question? Okay.
No.
Trina, did you have a question?
Oh, no, not a question. Yes, definitely just a year, and, we have to give, 30 days advance notice if you want to, get out of it at that point. One part where it said number 9 will continue into perpetuity, and I looked at number 9 and there was expectation of high quality. I was like, yes. I'm not seeing concerns.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or concerns from the council on this?
Not a concern, but I'm very happy we're doing this.
All right. If you want to celebrate, you can make a motion then, Piper on.
I will do so. Howard Heckle will make a motion to approve the recommendation of awarding building inspection services to Safe Built.
Reed second.
All right, we have a motion from Piper on, a second from Reed to award the building inspection contract to Safe Built. Is there any discussion on the motion? There's no further discussion. Could we please take a roll call, Pat?
McCabe,
Aye.
Piperone,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we are tabling item 6 until our next meeting, first meeting in January, so we'll move on to item number 7. Let's see, consider and take action on the city service contracts. I believe these were all reviewed at your last committee of the whole meeting. Most of them were fairly straightforward. Gotta get to, let's see. The first one is for the Hillside Cemetery internment contract. It looks like the recommendation was to the best bidder, Meitner's Land Service LLC, for the years 2021 and 2022 at the amount of $585 for regular burial, $300 cremation, and $125 additional for evening burial after 5 p.m., and $100 additional for graveside services after 3 p.m. Are there any questions on the internment contract? If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Hillside Cemetery internment contract to Meitner Land Service for the LLC for years 2021 and 2022.
I'll make a motion to award the Hillside Cemetery interment contract to Meitner Services for the years 2021 and 2022.
Okay, second.
A motion from Ryan and a second from McCabe to award the Hillside Cemetery internment contract to Meitner Land Services LLC for the years 2021 and 2022. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, could you please take a roll call on this, Pat?
McCabe,
Aye.
Piperone,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to 7B, which is the Hillside Cemetery turf maintenance contract. Let's see, I believe we had 3 different bidders on this, and the recommendation was to award the contract for the turf maintenance services at Hillside Cemetery to the best qualified bidder, being Signature Lawn Care, for the years 2021 and 2022 at a cost of $1,752.61 per mowing trimming event for 2021 and $1,854.70 for mowing and trimming for the events in 2022. Are there any questions or discussion on the Hillside Cemetery turf maintenance contract? If there are no questions or further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
Adams moves to award the contract for turf maintenance services at Hillside Cemetery to Signature Lawn Care for the years 2021 and 2022.
Or Piper, second.
We have a motion from Adams and a second from Piperon to award the turf maintenance services at Hillside Cemetery to Signature Lawn Care for the years 2021 and 2022. Is there any further discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, could you please take a roll call for us, Pat?
Piperone? Paul?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Adams?
Aye.
McCabe?
I,
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business 7C, which is the electrical maintenance contract. It looks like, let's see. Is this going to require one motion or two? Because I see the waive requirement that bid be notarized in order to be considered as an official bid. Was that something that was brought up at the committee of the whole discussion? I'm sorry I didn't get to watch that part of it. And then to award the contractor to the lowest responsible bidder, SNS Electric. So do we need to?
I don't think we had a discussion on that specifically at the committee of the whole. That is something that I think we've done in the past, is that when there's a technical, oversight or something like that, that generally we would, I think identify both things as waiving the requirement that it be notarized to be extra safe, and then number two, awarding the contract. Otherwise, the contract, as recommended to SNS, is what staff have recommended.
Okay. All right. Are there questions for the electrical services contract? It looks like the lowest responsible bidder was SNS Electric Incorporated for the years 2021 and 2022 at a cost of $65 per hour or $97.50 per hour's off rate and 30% markup for parts and supplies. Any questions on this? All right, if there's no further questions from the council, entertain a motion to approve the electrical maintenance contract and award it to SNS Electric.
Read motion to award the electrical services contract to SNS Electric for 2021, 2022.
Ryan, second.
Motion from Reed and a second from Ryan to award the electrical maintenance contract for 2021 and 2022 to SNS Electric Incorporated. Is there any further discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Reed?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Adams?
Aye.
McCabe?
I,
Piperone?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to 7D, which is the HVAC maintenance contract. It looks like the award contract for HVAC services to the lowest responsible bidder would be Latitude 43 HVAC and Energy Solutions for the years 2021 and 2022 at a cost of $40 per hour standard rate, $60 per hour weekend holidays, and 18% markup on parts and supplies. Any questions on the HVAC maintenance contract? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the HVAC maintenance contract with Latitude 43 HVAC and Energy Solutions for the years 2021 and 2022.
okay, we'll make a motion to approve the HVAC maintenance contract to Latitude 43 HVAC and Energy Solutions for 2021 and 2022.
Adams seconds.
I have a motion from McCabe, a second from Adams to award the contract for the HVAC maintenance for the city to Latitude 43 HVAC and Energy Solutions for 2021 and 2022. Is there any discussion on that motion? If there's no further discussion, Pat, could you please take a roll call?
Ryan,
Aye.
Adams,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Pifferone, Paul, and Reed.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to 7E, which is the tree service contract. I do believe that there was an update from the discussion at the committee of the whole, so I'll have Kyle just run through that real quick.
Thank you. So there was an oversight, I think, in the development of the bid tabulation sheet that was used last time. And the last sheet you had did not have the emergency response time and the labor rate for emergency, which ended up playing a role in what staff were making as a recommendation to continue the relationship with Canby Tree and Lawn. So if you notice there that the emergency response time, so if we have a windstorm or any other major event, takes a tree down, across a whole bunch of the community or even down on one individual home or vehicle, K&B is guaranteeing us their emergency response of 4 hours, and Happy Mower is a day and a half, 36 hours. Additionally, the rate for those emergencies, when we have things that go down on the weekends or in the evenings, for K&B was about $20 cheaper per hour than Happy Mower was. So the rates for the general service are a little higher, the rates for emergency are a little less, and the response time is substantially less. Additionally, a couple of the things that played into the staff recommendation was K&B had local municipal references, and Happy Mower included a packet. They applied for 3 separate contracts in one binder with a loose leaf list of car washes, a school district, snowplow or a snow removal customer, and basically it was all the references for everything. And so we did have to dig through somewhat. The references for K&B were all local municipal references. When it came to emergency contacts, Happy Mower listed 1 person, and K&B listed 3 people. So that when you need somebody, you had 3 points of contact to go towards. And again, just the lower emergency rate and the faster response time when you need them is kind of critical. And in an emergency, we could really call anyone. But the reality is, if other communities all have trees down all over, I wouldn't expect K&B to make Columbus first. If we don't have a contract with them, they would probably serve their other customers first. So that kind of all played into the staff recommendation to go with K&B.
Okay, thank you. I see on the tabulation sheet that's updated, the emergency response time for K&B is 4 hours, where Happy Mower is 36 hours, and then also the rates for K&B, $54.81 per hour versus $75 for the Happy Mower. So that's significant. Thanks for the update. Are there any further questions on the tree service contract from the council? All right, if there's no further questions, need a motion to award the tree service contract to K&B Tree and Lawn Care for 2021 and 2022.
I'll make a motion to award the tree service contract to K&B Lawn Care for the years of 2021 and 2022.
We have a motion from Ryan, a second from Pifferon to award the tree service contract for 2021 and 2022 to K&B Tree and Lawn Care. Is there any discussion on that motion? If there's no further discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Adams,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Pifferone, Reed,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the last of the contracts, the weed, grass, and shrubbery contract. It looks like the award contract for on-call non-compliance weed, grass, and shrubbery cutting services to the lowest responsible bidder would be the Happy Mower LLC for years 2021 and 2022 at the cost of $60 per hour and a 36-hour response time. Are there any questions on that service contract? If there are no questions from the council, entertain a motion to approve the weed, grass, and shrubbery contract and award it to the Happy Mower LLC for the years 2021 and 2022.
Alder Ryan, I'll make a motion to award the weed, grass, and shrubbery contract to Happy Mower LLC for the years 2021 and 2022.
Adams, second.
All right, we have a motion from Ryan and a second from Adams to award the weed, grass, and shrubbery contract to the Happy Mower LLC for the years 2021 and 2022. Is there any further discussion on this motion? If there's no further discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Adams,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Pifferone,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business item number 8, which is consider and take action on extension of the emergency declaration. As stated in the memo, we have had an local emergency declaration. Several of them have been issued since the beginning of COVID, and the current emergency order will expire on December 19th, 2020, unless it is extended by the City Council. Since the current order went into effect, infections and the exposures to COVID-19 virus have remained elevated in the community and have directly impacted city staff. Although the city has continued performing essential duties, staffing and operations have been impaired by COVID-related staff quarantines and isolations. Given the ongoing nature of the pandemic, the actual and potential impairment of operations, and the continuing potential for disruption of critical systems within the city, staff believe it is prudent to extend the emergency order. So the recommendation is to extend the emergency order with an expiration at midnight on February 28th, 2021. Are there any questions on the emergency declaration extension? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the extension of the emergency declaration to midnight, February 28th, 2021.
And this moves extend the emergency order with an expiration at midnight on February 28th, 2021.
Ryan, second.
We have a motion from Adams, a second from Ryan, to extend the current COVID-related emergency declaration to midnight, February 28th, 2021. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 9. Consider and take action on the amendment to the city administrator's employment contract. As outlined in the memo, subsequent to the 6-month performance review process, the City Council and the City Administrator discussed the terms of compensation, and the determination of the Council was that the Administrator would be granted the same 1.5% general wage adjustment and was granted for the regular city employees, similarly effective during the first full pay period in 2021. Additionally, there is a desire to implement another compensation component that would encourage retention. The amendment would add the delayed award of funds to the administrator on October 6, 2021, based on the amount of administrative fees collected by the city in 2020 for the management of the Emergency Medical Services Fund. Subsequent years would follow the same pattern, where the 1% fee collected in one year would be awarded on October 6th of the following year if the administrator is still employed on that date. Are there any questions on the amendment to the city administrator's employment contract? All right, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the city administrator's employment contract.
Alder Ryan, I'll make a motion to approve the extension, or I'm sorry, to amend the city administrator's employment contract.
Adams, second.
All second that.
I have a motion from Ryan and a second from Adams to approve the First Amendment to the city administrator's employment contract. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
McCabe,
Aye.
Pifferone,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Move on to item number 10 then, which is consider and take action on the city claims in the amount of $157,000, $157,058.37. Are there any questions on the city claims as submitted? Seeing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims in the amount submitted.
Alderman Pfeiffer will make a motion to approve the claims as read.
Okay, second.
We have a motion from Pfeiffer, a second from McCabe to approve the city claims in the amount of $157,058.37. Is there any further discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
McCabe,
Aye.
Pifferone,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Report of city officers, I'll turn it over to Administrator Ellison so I can take a breath. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, it snowed. And with the snow, there's a couple winter reminders I think that it's good to bring out and so everyone hears it again. Winter parking, when there's more than 2 inches of snow that has accumulated, and that's measured out at the wastewater treatment plant at the weather station location, that triggers the winter parking rules, and those go into effect and limit or prohibit parking until the snow removal is complete and streets are cleared curb to curb. The city does have some notification mechanisms that are out there as far as mailing, email blasts, text alerts, and Facebook messages, but I think the important thing is that if you go to bed and there's planning on 6 inches of snow overnight, you can expect that at some point it's going to be past 2 inches, and the goal is really to get you off the street so that the street crews can get the streets cleaned. Also, I think as we get into the accumulation of snow, it's important to keep your garbage and recycling containers out of the roadway. They generally lose if they meet a snowplow, and it just becomes more of an obstruction. So a little planning now, I think, if you can keep an area shoveled, generally pays off later in the winter. And then as it comes to the sidewalks, of course, the residents have 24 hours after the snow stops to get their sidewalks clear of snow and ice, which is, I think, important as, even in the colder months, we have a lot of people moving throughout the community. The next thing is tax bills are out. So I started with snow and we're going to tax bills, so we're not sure which way we're headed, but there's been a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of changes on the tax bills, and that's for a couple reasons. One, we talked previously about the revaluation, so that took individual properties and changed their relationship to everyone else's properties, and maybe if the average property moved up, say, 10%, but your property moved up 20%, you're going to have a tax bill that's much higher than it used to be. For example, the city tax levy increased less than 2%, but as you look at different tax bills throughout the community, I see one that shows the city tax line being down 2%, one showing it up 5%, and then one showing it up 23%. And that's all based on the same tax levy. It's just a combination of their property value change and the tax levy. And then the other big change on the tax bills was, of course, we had a referendum this past year for the school district, and the voters approved a referendum. And so that also appears on the tax bills for the first time this year. The information is called out specifically on your tax bill. If you look at it, it is broken out and tells you sort of how much of that referendum is showing up on your tax bill. But if you look at your tax bill and you're just not really understanding how the numbers are coming together, or you feel like there's an error there, like always, give us a call at City Hall and we'll try to walk you through it, and help you understand. And if there is an error, we'll catch it and we'll work through whatever solution there is to it. So that's all I had on property tax. And then I did want to end up with a shout out that our staff got. Didion Milling had a workplace tragedy last week, and part of the effort involved removing grain from a bin, and it was a huge task that had to be completed in a quick amount of time. And the Columbia County Emergency Management Coordinator reached out to our emergency management director, and the Department of Public Works staff basically volunteered to take the vac truck from the wastewater treatment plant and respond up there and help out however they could. And so it was, I believe, the City of Columbus vac truck and the City of Portage that worked in tandem to, really help that situation, progress. And Columbia County was just very thankful for, the city's involvement, and also that the staff were very helpful and they were prompt. And so there was specific staff that were there, but I think the more important thing that speaks more to the kind of the general quality of the employees we have in Columbus is the two employees that went were proud to do it. And there was other employees behind them that were willing to do it as well. And so I think, there was just a great effort by a couple people, and a lot of other people would have taken their place if they had to. And it really, I think, this time of year, you talk about, what you're grateful for. I think, the residents of the city and the surrounding area are thankful for the City of Columbus employees, and something that we should all be proud of.
Well said. Thank you, Kyle. All right. With the year 2020 coming to a close, I wanted to reflect a bit on this past year. Although it seems much longer than a year ago, we began 2020 working with Interim Administrator Dave Berner as we navigated the process to identify a new city administrator. In March, we were introduced to what would prove to be uncharted territory and still continues to this day, the global COVID-19 pandemic. It has had profound effects on our community, our state, our nation, and the world. It has impacted virtually every aspect of our lives, as we've had to do things we normally wouldn't do, and has prevented us from doing many things we enjoy doing. Shortly after learning of our new reality, Kyle Ellison, the new city administrator, began with the city the day before the spring election. Kyle was welcomed amid a whirlwind of chaos, change, and a mountain of tasks which he met with resilience. It became clear that we had found the administrator to meet the many challenges we were facing head on. Have you seen the whiteboard hanging in Kyle's office? That says it all. Even through all the challenges that 2020 provided, there were also very noticeable achievements. More notable, in my opinion, due to the challenges of navigating an administrative transition along with COVID-19. Columbus had a banner year in successfully being awarded several federal and state funded grants totaling approximately $1.3 million. Achieving such success amid these challenges is a true testament to the outstanding staff, the city employees. They work hard to help the city achieve its goals by reducing the city's share of funding for large projects. City staff has also been extremely nimble and creative in helping us and our citizens stay safe during this pandemic. Everyone from our seasonal employees, law enforcement, DPW employees, election workers, and City Hall staff have pulled together this year so we could continue to provide the expected services to our community in a safe and healthy manner. Our city employees at every level are the true face of our community, and I'm extremely proud of the work they've accomplished during this very challenging year. December of each year also brings about the annual requirement for local candidates to file paperwork and circulate petitions for the spring election in April. As an elected official, I have completed this process 4 times. First being elected as District 3 Alderperson in 2013, I was elected to a second term in 2015 and served both of those years as City Council President. I was then elected to my first term as the Mayor of the City of Columbus in 2017 and then re-elected to my second term as Mayor in 2019, which is the term I'm currently serving. It has been an extremely difficult decision for me to make, but I am officially announcing that I will not be seeking a third term for the mayor of the city of Columbus. I feel a deep obligation to announce my intention early enough to provide opportunity for any other candidates who may be considered stepping forward to serve our community. It is important to allow the electorate in Columbus to identify candidates and to have a robust exchange of ideas and to share their visions for the future of the city of Columbus. It has been an honor to serve in my capacity for these past 8 years. But I have had some stark reminders very recently with growing children and aging parents, and I cannot ignore my heart or my head. I'm extremely proud of the work that I have done as a city official during these past 8 years. I'm proud of the people I've worked with and how we've worked together. I've tried to be a good listener and learned to be a good consensus builder. I've learned a tremendous amount while serving, and most importantly, I believe successful organizations such as the City of Columbus are successful when they have good policy in place. Every organization runs more efficiently when everyone understands the rules and the boundaries that you are expected to work within. Consistency leads to precedent and fairness, even though people may disagree with the policy at times. I've never been someone who enjoys privilege or entitlement, so I have focused on updating ordinance, policy, procedure, and planning to help provide needed consistency and efficiency for the city. While working through this decision, it feels like I've spent a lot of time waxing the car for the parade, only to hand the keys over to someone else that will drive it in the parade. And I'm okay with that. That's part of this job. Being a member of the city council or being mayor has never been about me. It's been about all of us. Even people that disagree with me. It's about setting up the city for success and keeping the ship pointed at the bright horizon that I saw when I began this incredible journey 8 years ago, and the city is in good hands. My passion for local government in this community that my wife and I decided to raise our family in is not going to evaporate. I will always be incredibly proud to call Columbus my home, and I look forward to working with the city council and staff for the remainder of my term. It's been an honor to serve my community these past 8 years. Thank you. I want to wish everyone a joyous and safe holiday season, and I look forward to future opportunities in 2021. We'll see you all next year. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
That was well said, and I move to adjourn.
I'll second that. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll be adjourned for a few minutes, and then we will begin the committee of the whole. Council President Katie Ryan is going to run that remotely from home. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Columbus Common Council's Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. The time is now 7:30 p.m. Pat, would you please take the roll call?
Adams.
Present.
Gray is excused. McCabe.
Here.
Pifferone.
Here?
Reed.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Tome.
Here.
Okay. This meeting has been noticed with state statutes and local ordinances. Number 3, I believe there was some discussion earlier between the city administrator and I about tabling number 7 on our agenda tonight, which is review and discuss the Butterfly Garden Volunteer Park MOU until the next meeting, the first meeting in January. There was just some concerns with discussing it at this time. Is there any reason why anybody would want to not want to table that until the next meeting? Mike McCabe.
Not that I don't want to table it. It's just it's been a while since I've been out there. I'm just curious if anybody knew if they got the straw spread out and stuff before the snow. That's all.
A local resident just informed me that it is not all spread out. I know that they did get some planting done, but I believe the bales or the pile of straw remains.
Yeah, there was a straw mountain a couple days ago, a little before the snow, so I don't see how it would be all down.
Okay. So if we're all okay with tabling that until the next meeting, then I'll take a motion to approve the agenda with that amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the exception that we table item number 7 to the first meeting in January.
Okay, second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Tome and a second by McCabe to approve the agenda with the tabling of number 7. Number 4 is citizen comments. Pat, did I have anybody signed up prior?
No, there's no one signed up.
I don't believe there's anybody present that wishes to speak at the citizen comment portion of the meeting. Seeing none. And we'll move on to number 5, which is department reports. Within the packet this evening, we have the November 2020 department report of the DPW, the fire, media coordinator, and the police. Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on the department reports from council or Mayor Tome? Seeing none. We'll move on then to number 6, which is review and discuss the resolution for Dodge County All Hazards Mitigation Plan. Pretty straightforward. It looks like we've already approved the same type of mitigation plan for Columbia County. Administrator Ellison was planning on speaking to this.
Thank you. Yes, this is very similar to what you completed a few months back with Columbia County's mitigation plan resolution, and it's essentially a refunding mechanism. So if we do this and there was some kind of emergency that was reimbursable and it happened to be on the Dodge County side, think of the areas out by the wastewater treatment plant, River Road. This would allow us to seek reimbursement through both counties potentially. So it doesn't really obligate us to do anything in particular, but it does open us up to additional funding.
Paul Piper, do you have a question?
I'm sorry if this is not allowed, forgive me, and we'll move on, but if I can move backwards for a moment, I'm looking at the Columbus DPW report.
Can he speak to that during this item? Is there any issue with that? Kyle?
I think it'd be up to the chair.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul Piper.
Thank you. I'm just noticing tonight we approved can-be tree removals, and just on the list it's showing tree list for can-be tree removals like it was a done deal already. It seemed like it was maybe out of order.
You have to remember that we essentially have an existing contract for 2 years that are ending on December 31st. And the contracts that we approved are starting on January 1st and going for a 2-year term. So K&B is our existing contract that was awarded 2 years ago.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Okay,
Sorry
so
about that.
back to number 6. Is there any concerns or questions about the resolution for Dodge County All Hazards Mitigation Plan? Okay, looks like we're gonna have to move that forward to the next regular meeting for approval. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, or sorry, tabling number 7. Move on to number 8. Review and discuss Wisconsin Service Award Program revised adoption agreement. We have Chief Randy Keene with us this evening. Did you want to speak to that, Randy?
Only if anybody had any questions. I assume that it was in the packet, kind of what I laid out as far as describing what the program is and what the changes are included.
Great, thank you. Yes, did everybody get a chance to read the memo? Any immediate questions?
I was going to say, if I can add, there's really no changes that really affects the city of Columbus. It's been 17 years since the city of Columbus adopted this, and the company felt that after 17 years that there are some wording changes, but it doesn't really affect us. And so that's why they're looking at having a new signed agreement.
Seems like you did a pretty good job of just highlighting the exactly kind of what's changed. And doesn't seem to be anything really alarming. Does anybody have any concerns? Okay. You can go ahead and, does this also need to move forward to the next regular meeting then?
Yes. The mayor.
I did have one question for the chief, and the answer's probably in here, but I haven't been able to dig in real deep. How long is this next contract for, the length of the agreement for?
There's no end to it.
Okay.
Just like the one that was signed 17 years ago, it's continuous until someone comes up and says, hey, we need to have a different agreement.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have consensus on to move that forward to the next regular meeting for approval. Thank you, Randy, for joining us.
Thank you.
I buried my agenda here. All right, the next item is number 9, review and discuss the Hibbard Street change order number 3. And for that, this evening we have City Engineer Jason Lisa. Hi, Jason.
Hello, everyone. Thanks. I know you got your packet and there's a cover memo in here. So, this is a little bit of a, I think a little bit of a beast here. But there's a lot of information that we compiled. So effectively, this is the end of the project. We finished all of the work, and what we typically do for just kind of for the audit purposes, we like to kind of balance out the contract with the final cost. And so when we bid these projects out, we estimate the unit prices for the contracts. And can everybody hear me fine? Okay. So we estimate the unit prices, and then when we build it, we get actual numbers. So we know how much ton or how many feet of something or how many square yards or whatever the case might be. And so when we get to the end of the project, we have some budget items that come in slightly over what we estimated for quantities. We have some that are slightly under what we estimated for quantities. And so we do what we call a closeout change order. And so that's just kind of true everything up and have the final quantities. Along with this, being it's the final project, we had some miscellaneous things along the way that popped up, and I'll kind of go over that. So there's a couple components to this. So what the idea is, this will be the final change order for the contract, which will determine what the exact final cost is, because we've completed all the work. Now, there still is going to be some revisit work in the spring and summer by the contractor, because we have a 12-month warranty period from late this fall. So they'll have to come back and touch things up and reseed some areas that don't grow. And, if a tree that was planted doesn't take, they'll have to replace it, things like that. But that's all under warranty, And so what we have to do is close out the project with the final payments, because then we can get reimbursed for our grant. And if you remember, our LRIP grant was $450,000, and we can't request a partial reimbursement for that. We have to request the full reimbursement once the project's completed. So the idea tonight would be to review this, see if there's any questions, get that final change order approved, get the final payment processed with the contractor, and then obviously get our grant reimbursement filed with the state so we can get reimbursement for that. But we are obligated under contract to have the contractor come back to correct anything that may be amiss in the next 12 months. So we really have a host of things. It could be something that's cracked or damaged from defective construction. So so just to kind of go through this change order a little bit, there is a spreadsheet that was included. It's one of the first pages in my packet. It's got a bunch of colors on it. So I just kind of wanted to kind of briefly go over that. If you look at the right-hand column, there's some text there that says total price change. There's some black and some red in those columns. So anything that has a number over there has a quantity that was different from what we estimated. So, we're estimating how many tons of gravel we're going to put in the road. In this particular case, we come in a little under on our final quantity from what we estimated. So we deducted some costs. But there were some items that were over. And essentially, if you just look at the overs and unders on the top part of the spreadsheet, you come up with a total project increase, I believe, of $26,321.38. So those are just things that took a little extra that we just estimated slightly under or slightly over. And so with that, I want to add that there's a piece on the bottom of the same spreadsheet that says change order 3, and there's like 9 items. And throughout this packet, I refer to change order 3, and then there's those 9 items. Those are all things that came up throughout the process. And I want to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that we had some minor adds. So for example, on Turner Street, we found a defective sewer lateral for a private residence. That we were there with the backhoes, we had crossed it, we decided it was efficient to dig it up before we paved a new pavement over top of it and fix it. It wasn't something we had planned, it wasn't something we had known, but we corrected it as we went. So that's an example of one of the features that we added on. We had some unknowns. We found some underground utilities that were in conflict on the next few items. So we had some adjustments we had to make to some structures and some pipes. We had to convert to some elliptical pipes for some clearance issues. Those were all things that we worked through with staff when we met weekly and went ahead and got things installed that worked fine. There was some additional restoration on Turner Street. We were just planning on resurfacing the road, but we cleaned up some of the ditching and kind of restored some of the areas around the inlets to allow better drainage for those residents. It was a minor add, but we felt like it was something that was beneficial. And as long as we were there, again, we added some restoration work. And then there was some additional restoration up on the Hibbert Street project. We had planned to restore out to the right-of-way line. In some cases, to get the drainage to work, we had to restore a little further back on some properties. It wasn't much, but it was kind of throughout the project, and so that added up. Those are all things that I certainly would say aren't big ticket items, but you know they do add up with these costs. In this this change order 3 add, we also did end up repaving a bunch of the connecting side streets further back than we had planned because they were in very poor shape. So we felt like we had to go back in certain cases past, you know, there were some driveways that tied in, so we replaced the asphalt to those driveways just to make it nicer for the residents. We had obviously disrupted their lives for a long time, so I think we added about another 150 feet of street replacement to the project, just at some tie-ins. We also had some patching just due to the nature of the contractor working out there, and although they avoided running their trucks and equipment on some of the side streets, we still had a couple spots that failed, so we ended up patching those areas to the best we can, and so some of that cost was included in here too. So I'd like to report that there's actually about, I think the additional amount was about $30,996. But I will say we definitely got some new pavement out of that. We got some improved drainage out of that. We got a couple new sewer laterals out of that. So those are all things where we felt like we had added benefit for the money spent. It wasn't just the contractor did the same amount of work and wanted more money for it. So with that being said, the total for this change order worked out to be about $57,000. Of that, 42,714 reverts back to the city and storm sewer related accounts. 7,800 goes to the wastewater, and 67 goes to water and light. So all total, I think the project, considering the size of it, and I know we finished late, but everybody was very good from a resident standpoint, and I think the contractor did a nice job pulling it all together at the end. So we did have a little bit of overrun with this closeout change order, but I feel like we got value in it. And if you look at the total, we're talking cumulatively 2.9% of construction cost was part of the 2 change orders, both change order 2 and 3. If you remember, change order 2 was some added work for the water main in the amount of 18,704. So the total project is about 3% of total project cost. So I think from an industry standard, we came in very good. I know we did have obviously those additional things that we really didn't account for, but I feel like we had a good result. So I know I'm not going to get into all of the detail unless if somebody has some questions on some of the attached information or any of the specific items. But I guess I'll open it up for questions if anybody has anything for me.
So I just wanted to point out, these are all going to be covered also by contingency, correct, Jason?
Yeah, I believe Kyle says in the memo here, this was less than half of what we had accounted for in the contingency. So obviously, with knowing these are final costs, we can say that we came in certainly well within that contingency.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions or concerns? Mayor Tom?
I don't really have a question, but I did want to just make a comment, I guess. This time last year, we were having public information meetings for this project, and I just wanted to commend staff and Jason for the work that they put into this project. There's not many council members that were here when we first started talking about Hibbert Street, probably 4 or 5 years ago, And at that time, it was such an immense project. We were talking about breaking it up into two separate phases, doing two separate borrowings. The fact that this project got done in the timeline and for the cost is absolutely a miracle to compress that amount of work into that timeline. And I think that's just because of the good design work that you did, the communication with the contractor and the management of the project. But, I had a couple sleepless nights knowing that we were going to be starting this project later than we wanted to, but we got the LRIP grant to help fund this project. But the amount of work that we got done this year with this project is, I'd say, historical. I haven't seen this much work get done in a single year. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I know these projects are disruptive to residents, et cetera, but I'm glad to see that the project did get wrapped up this year. And also glad to see that you made, staff level decisions to use some of this contingency money for, meeting up with the existing roadways. I know that's always going to be an issue on every project that you do, but I think it was money well spent, and that's why we have contingency, but we've only spent half of that. So job well done. Thank you, Jason, and to the staff that made this project a success this year. Thank you very much.
And it looks beautiful. All right, if there are no further questions or comments, we can move on, but wow. I think that was the last item on our agenda. So with that being said, move on to number 10. And I'll take a motion to adjourn if there are no further comments.
I'll make a motion to adjourn and wish everybody a happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you after the new year.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Happy holidays, everybody.
Any opposed? All right, stand adjourned. Thanks, guys. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.